Lisa Palmer, Dr. Mama Bear, coming to you live on acne, the medication called Accutane, and Astonishing. So what is up with acne, right? Growing up, I would get a couple little pimples here and a couple little pimples there, and it really wasn't a big deal. But there are patients we've worked with. There are young people. There are people in their 20s. There's adults that suffer with acne, and it's awful. It's really, I've had patients that are embarrassed. I have patients that have low self-esteem or low self-confidence because they have acne. The medical treatment for acne is a drug called Accutane. Okay. The problem with Accutane is that every single medication that you're on, whether it's over the counter or it is prescribed, every single medication has a side effect. All of them, right? All of them have side effects, right? They all have negative effects on the liver. Accutane is such a dangerous drug that you have to be prescribed birth control in order to, if you're a female, you have to be on birth control with the Accutane. Why? Why is that? Has anybody asked why? The reason why, and you guys can post in the chat, the reason why you can post if you've been on Accutane, if you were prescribed Accutane, if you had acne issues, the reason why a young female will be put on birth control with Accutane is because Accutane causes birth defects. The acne medication causes birth defects. What does that mean? What does it do to your body? So if you are not able to get a prescription of Accutane without birth control, because if you take the medication while you're pregnant, the baby will be damaged. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to your body? Does that mean that it's healthy for you? Does it mean that it improves health? Does that mean that it's filled with vitamins and minerals? Is it something that's going to improve your physiology of your body? Or is it a medication that has harmful side effects like all medication? I'm not telling you not to take medication. I'm not telling you that. I'm trying to educate on what these things have an effect on, because I think the education in this area is lacking, right? So if you go to drugs.com right now and you put in Accutane, Accutane, you will see under side effects, birth defects. Birth defects. That means someone who takes Accutane and they get pregnant, the baby will have issues in formation. Maybe they'll have problems forming their limbs, like maybe one limb will be deformed. Maybe they will have problems with being able to think, or their neurology. Maybe they will have growth problems, but the medication harms the baby. If it harms the baby, what is it doing to you? It is harming you. Now, acne is not this mysterious thing that requires this horrible drug with birth defects. Horrible drug with side effects, horrible drug that always, every single medication has a side effect. Acne has a couple causes, right? If you are not cleaning out the toxins in your body, it will come out of your largest detox organ. What is your largest detox organ? It's your skin. So if you're not pooping, so I'm just going to be super upfront with you, if you are not pooping, then the waste products will be expelled out of your pores, and that can cause acne, right? So one of the things, if you work with us, one of the things we will do is we'll look at to see if someone is suffering from the condition of acne, then we're looking to see what is the cause. We're always looking at the cause. We're like little health detectives looking to see what is the cause of this problem. So if acne is the symptom, what caused it? In some cases, it's because you're not pooping. How often should you go to the bathroom? How often should you have a bowel movement? You should have a bowel movement every day. If you think about your cat or your dog, I mean, I think about my dog, I'm like, I feed him and he poops, and I feed him and he poops, and I feed him and he poops, or babies, right? You feed them and they poop, and you feed them and they poop. And if they're not pooping, it could be a very big problem, right? Many adults in the United States only poop one time a week. If you are pooping one time a week, you are not healthy. You are toxic. And that toxicity is going to sit in your colon. So the large intestines reabsorb water, and your small intestines absorb nutrients. And so if you have poop that's sitting in your large intestines because you're constipated, you're going to reabsorb those toxins. You're eating toxic waste, right? You're absorbing toxic waste. Your body still has to get rid of that toxicity. It can't poop for various reasons, like a slow thyroid or a slow heart or poor diet, right? The SAD diet, the standard American diet, is the SAD diet. Unfortunately, a lot of Americans are eating junk, right? They're eating fast food, they're eating processed food, they're eating foods with very low nutrition. So they become constipated for various different reasons. They can't have a bowel movement. The body reabsorbs the toxins and pushes it out the skin, and that absolutely can be a cause of acne. Another cause of acne is hormones. You should have, both men and women, you should have hormones that are in balance. On the male side, testosterone is at a low, very low, at an all-time low. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's very, very low. And male fertility is at an all-time low, to the point where we may have problems with future generations, and meaning having families, right? So if you have low testosterone, the solution is not to give the body more testosterone. So some of these things I'm saying tonight, you guys may not like what I'm about to say. I am not a fan of testosterone pellets. I was at a professional office, we'll just say it like that, a couple weeks ago, and one of the male employees was bragging in that he gets his testosterone. And he was like all like beefcake and big muscles, and he was all proud of how much muscle he's gaining. And he's doing testosterone pellets, and he's bragging about it because he has more muscle mass. So yeah, if you do testosterone, you will have more muscle mass, but it comes with a price. You will also decrease your amount of testosterone you're making. So if you give the body something it already makes, it down regulates and it makes less. And so if you make less testosterone, your testicles atrophy. Atrophy means they get small. Atrophy means they shrink. Atrophy means they're not doing their job anymore. So then how long you can continue to take synthetic testosterone? And so increase in steroid hormones like testosterone imbalance the body's ability to balance out its own hormones. And one of the side effects of increasing testosterone intake from a synthetic or chemical made process is acne. Right? So some weightlifters that are doing steroids will have pimples on their back or pimples on their chest or pimples on their face. And some of them are okay with it because they have bigger muscles. You want to have bigger muscles, lift heavier weight. You want to lift heavier weight, eat better food. You want to have better workouts, get more sleep and have recovery days, right? So in my past, I was a strength and conditioning specialist. In my past, I was a certified chiropractic sports physician. I'm not active in those certifications anymore because I'm more in the holistic quantum nutrition route. But yeah, that's how you gain muscle. When you take steroids, you throw off everything else, right? And you will actually get acne from that. If you're female and you have acne, you may have imbalanced female hormones. Excess estrogen leads to cancer, cervical cancer, breast cancer, ovarian cancer. Birth control, so if you get prescribed Accutane and they put you on birth control because they don't want you to get pregnant because they don't want the Accutane to cause birth defects, and you get put on these oral contraceptives, they come with a price, ladies. Right? So when I was in college, I had skip periods. So as an athlete, I would have a period, skip 3 months, have a period, skip 6 months, have a period, skip 9 months. And I thought, oh, I'm in college, I get free health care. I'm going to go to the health center and be a very responsible young adult and talk to the OBGYN and let her know I have skip periods. And she said, why are you complaining? And I said, because I don't ever know when they're coming. And in the future, I want to have kids. And if I have irregular cycles, it means something in my body is imbalanced. So here I am, my 20-year-old self, talking to this physician, and she's basically telling me, why am I complaining? And so she goes, well, what we can do is I can provide you an oral contraceptive. I can give you birth control. and the birth control will regulate your periods. That's all she told me. She didn't tell me that it increases my risk for stroke. She didn't tell me it increased my risk of blood clots. She didn't tell me that it increased my risk of ovarian cancer, breast cancer, uterine cancer. She didn't tell me any of that. She gave me this pack of pills and said, it'll regulate your periods, so then we won't skip periods and it'll fix it. That's what she told me when I was in my 20s. And I took it. I took it because I didn't want to skip periods. I took it because I thought, okay, well, if I'm in a relationship, I'm on birth control, so that's an added benefit. I took it because people said that it makes your skin get nice, right? Because it balances your hormones. What happened? And you guys can write in the comments, were you guys ever on birth control? What happened to me is I gained 20 pounds on that. It made me very emotional, and it made me feel horrible. I felt like a crazy person. Did it balance out my periods? Yeah, it caused breakthrough bleeding. Breakthrough bleeding is not a period. A period, you have a menstrual cycle where your body goes through maturing an egg, releasing an egg, having the egg come down the fallopian tube, shedding the uterine lining, and so on. Being on birth control is not a normal period. It is breakthrough bleeding. If you want to learn more about the dangers of birth control, you can watch the documentary, The Business of Birth Control. It is very eye-opening, and there's so many nasty pieces to that story. And so if a female like myself has imbalanced hormones, imbalanced, not balanced, then you can have PMS, premenstrual syndrome. You can have breast tenderness. You can have heavy periods. You can have skip periods. You can have crampy periods. You should not have cramps. If your body is imbalanced, you don't have cramps. You don't have clots. You don't have heavy bleeding. You don't have skip periods, right? But that physician didn't educate me and tell me what I had was not normal. She said, okay, well, you're a soccer player, you work out, you lift weights, you're fit, you have athletic amenorrhea. What does that mean? It means that you skip periods or you don't have a period because you're an athlete. Does that make any sense to you guys? No, it made no sense at all. Later in life, I found out that I had problems with my period because I had a heavy metal toxicity. And you guys can guess, some of you guys know, I know you guys are on with me. You guys can guess what that metal was. And so you could guess a metal like arsenic, you could guess aluminum, you could guess barium, you could guess mercury. And so the heavy metal that was found on me was mercury, and it was negatively affecting a gland in my brain called the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is the master gland. And because that heavy metal toxicity was interfering with that gland's function, I had skip periods. I didn't feel good. I had like an autoimmune type condition where I could sleep. You could ask my folks, you can ask my husband when we were dating, I could hibernate for 12 hours, 14 hours and still feel tired. Why? Because the mercury not only was negatively affecting my pituitary gland, but it was negatively affecting my thyroid gland. Your thyroid gland controls your metabolism. It controls how much energy you have and how much energy you don't have. If you are a zombie before you drink coffee, you may have problems with your thyroid gland. How you gain weight or lose weight. So I was talking to a lady the other day and she was frustrated because she's doing all the things that are correct to lose weight and yet she's not losing weight. And I'm like, well, it could be your thyroid gland. If your weight is stubborn, it could be thyroid gland, right? It affects your thermostat. And so when Jason and I were dating, I had to have the air conditioning on in the car, and then it was freezing cold and I had to turn it off, and then it was too hot, and then it was too cold, and it was too hot, and then it was too cold. And so some of you guys are kicking off the sheets in the middle of the night. Those of you that are in the other stage of female health called menopause. Menopause means menses pause. It does not mean hot flashes. It does not mean, kick off all the covers because you're sweating to death. It does not mean a low libido, dryness, anything like that. Menopause just means your menses stop. Hallelujah, right? And if you have any of those menopausal symptoms, or you have any of those premenstrual syndrome symptoms, it means that your hormones are not balanced. What caused the imbalance? It could be chemicals in the food we eat. It could be chemicals in the water that we drink. The safe levels, if you look at the EWG.org, Environmental Working Group, the safe levels for chemicals and metals in our water supply is crazy. And most counties' water exceed the safe levels. So that therefore it means you are drinking chemicals, you are drinking metals, you are consuming testosterone. So in some areas like Miami, they have testosterone in the water supply. And some areas like South Miami, they have things like estrogen in the water supply. In some countries like England, they're consuming antidepressants. Where? From the water supply. The water supply is so polluted. And so these chemicals and metals, these toxicities get into our systems and imbalance our systems. And what we do, which is pretty astonishing, is with quantum nutrition testing, we look to see what is the cause. If you have acne, did it come because you're not pooping? Did it come because your liver is so clogged it can't break down hormones? Do you have the acne, or do you have these issues because you got exposed to mold? Mold exposure increases estrogen in a female body and increases estrogen in a male body. So too much estrogen in either body is not good, right? So where did the imbalance in the body come from? So we're little health detectives. I feel like we have magnifying glasses, and we're looking for, did you get exposed to a chemical? Did you get exposed to a metal? We all get exposed to that stuff. Are the levels toxic? And oh, by the way, where do these toxins get stored? They get stored in fat tissue. They get stored in your liver. You might have fatty liver because it's filled with toxins. If it's filled with toxins, you cannot break down hormones, and you will have the negative effect of imbalanced hormones. What we do is we look for the cause. What chemical, what metal, is it mold? What is the cause? Then we look for how to rebalance the body naturally with whole food supplementation. Sometimes we use these different herbs. Some of them taste good, some of them don't taste good. Just gonna be upfront with you. We use something called homeopathy that is very, very gentle to help rebalance the body. And when you rebalance the body, the acne goes away, the chronic constipation goes away, the PMS goes away, the menopausal hot flashes goes away, your weight normalizes without exercise, right? So moving your body is good, but when your thyroid is trashed, I actually met a guy at a social function, and he was running every single day, and I did a little test on him and found that his thyroid's not working well. And I'm like, dude, you can run every day. And in fact, I used to run every day, not every day, but I used to run a lot on the soccer field, and I would work out and I was gaining more weight. Why was that happening? It was because my thyroid wasn't working properly. So it is astonishing when you find the cause of the problems, and we look for the cause with quantum nutrition testing. If you need our help, reach out to us at Palmer Natural Health. We'd be happy to help you. If you want to learn this work, reach out to us in the Quantum Nutrition Academy, QNTacademy.com. And we can find the cause. We can find the cause of the acne, because Accutane is never, ever, ever going to fix the cause. Your medications are never going to fix the cause. Your long-term blood pressure, diabetes, whatever the case may be, medication will never handle the cause. It will suppress the symptoms at the risk, I don't even want to say risk, at the effect of injuring the liver, damaging the kidneys, storing toxins in the body, storing toxins in the brain, and so on. All right, so I'll take a couple questions. Jonathan says he poops every day. Yay, Jonathan! Robin was on birth control for 10 to 12 years. Yeah. The longest case I've ever seen of someone on birth control was 30 years. So I got this patient. She'd been on birth control 30 years. She came to me. She had acne. She had PMS. She had weight gain. She had a fatigue, extreme fatigue. And so I was working with her to balance everything, but she still wanted to be on her birth control because it was convenient. And then all of a sudden she didn't come into the office, and I was calling her, we were emailing her, we were trying to get a hold of her, and we couldn't get a hold of her. And I'm like, okay, well, don't ever do that to a practitioner, by the way, that actually cares about you, because it's very stressful. because we do care and we do follow up and we do want to make sure you're okay. And so she just kind of disappeared off planet Earth. I didn't hear from her for months. And all of a sudden, what seemed like 6 months later, she showed back up at the office. And I was like, oh my gosh, where have you been? And typically, people get busy with life. They're traveling, work gets in the way, they forget to schedule, whatever, right? Well, what happened with this case was she was in the hospital. I'm like, are you kidding me? What happened to you? I would have considered her healthy other than her symptoms of fatigue, weight gain, acne, and irregular cycles, right? Otherwise, she was healthy. She had a stroke. She had a stroke for being on birth control for 30 years. One of the side effects is blood clots. She had a stroke. I think she was like 45. She had a stroke. You're not supposed to have strokes at all, no matter your age, at all. And I was like, oh my goodness. And she goes, yeah, the doctor was shocked when he looked at my medication list and saw that I was on birth control, because you're not supposed to be on birth control for 30 years. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay, astonishing, craziness. Jonathan wants me to ask if Udi gluten-free bagels are bad. So gluten-free is really tricky. Gluten-free just means that it does not have gluten, right? But unfortunately, people assume that because it's gluten-free. Now to me, it drives me nuts on why you would put gluten-free on like an orange. Like, why would you say that an orange is gluten-free? It never had gluten to begin with. Or like, I'll see like an avocado says gluten-free. I'm like, duh, like it doesn't have gluten. Gluten is not the problem. The glyphosate on the wheat is the problem, right? So glyphosate is Roundup. It's a harmful chemical. It displaces part of your DNA, right? It takes out the glycine and it replaces that with glyphosate, right? It is a problem. It is one of the reasons why people are getting hip replacements earlier and earlier, and knee replacements earlier and earlier, and joint replacements earlier and earlier, and blowing out ACLs at 10 years old on the soccer field. And so what I want to educate you guys on is that gluten-free does not mean healthy. Oftentimes, gluten is replaced by corn. Corn is not healthy. That is a genetically modified crop. Or it could be replaced with some other type of grain. So just a heads up on gluten-free. I don't know about the brand Udi, UDI. I don't have a label. If you guys want to pop up a label, read the label. Look for things like corn. Look for things like high fructose corn syrup. Look for things like corn syrup solids. Look for things like other types of grains that are just as inflammatory and damaging. Paula says, typically, gluten-free food is bad for you. Too many fillers. Try seed-based bread. Yeah, so try seed-based bread. You can try bread made out of almond flour. You can try bread made out of coconut flour. There's a new trend where people are baking with cottage cheese. So that's pretty interesting. And so to be healthy does not have to be boring. I am a foodie. I am half Italian. I love pizza. I love pasta. I love bread. But when it comes to those foods, I'm going to make healthier choices that do not have wheat in them from America. And there are ways of making things healthier that still taste good. Okay. All right, guys. Well, I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope that you learned that acne is not normal and there are natural solutions. Just increasing your fiber intake. Eating more salads or vegetables may help you with acne. Getting your hormones balanced naturally without the use of hormones may help you as well. And just remember, every single medication does have a side effect. I am not telling you to stop medications. I'm just making you aware every single medication has a side effect. If your doctor is talking to you about medications, please ask them the pros and cons of this medication, and please ask them to go over all the side effects with you. You can pull up drugs.com on your phone and go over the side effects with your physician, and then make a choice with your physician on whether this medication is worth the side effects or not. I'm Dr. Lisa Palmer, Dr. Mama Bear. Good night, everyone. Bye.